Hi, my name is Daniel Miller and I'm a student in the MSc 101 class, and today I'll be doing a presentation on aluminum and carbon fiber used in mountain bikes. Behind me here is my brother's mountain bike, and it is made of aluminum. Um, Nuke proof is kind of nice. But anyway, this is a good representation of a modern mountain bike. It's got nice suspension, hardtail, disc brakes, the works. But bikes weren't always like this. This is one of the first types of bikes, known as the Bone Shaker, made of steel and wooden wheels, and Bone Shaker for a reason. Now, as you can tell, technology has advanced a little bit. Like on my brother's bike here, there's no wood on it. Now an interesting thing about how these frames are made, with aluminum, you have to weld them. So you can see here on this bottom bracket, the welds that are bonding the frame together. Let's see if there's any more. A couple more welds here. Now this is interesting because on carbon fiber bikes, they don't have welds. This is a bottom bracket, so this area of the bike, and it's got no welds, it's seamless. That's because carbon fiber is like paper mache together in a bunch of different layers. Now, most bikes are made of an aluminum alloy, and this is because one, it's cheap, and two, it's easy to make, or relatively easy to make. All you gotta do is weld some tubes together. I mean, there's more into it than that, but now most bikes are made of an aluminum alloy 7005, which here are the properties of it. Aluminum, chromium, copper, magnesium is a big one. And the reason that they use 7005 is because it's very corrosion resistant and has relatively high strength. You see on this graph where corrosion resistance and fatigue strength meet, that's where 707 lies, within that range. And you notice the alloys in this range too: aluminum, zinc, magnesium. Look back at the chart. Aluminum, magnesium, zinc are in it. So really it's a pretty nice balance of strength, corrosion resistance, and fatigue strength found in the alloy 7005. So the way aluminum alloy is made is, first they take the raw ore, which is mined from wherever they mine aluminum alloy from, and they take that raw ore and they smelt it. Here's a little chart about the process. They smelt it down to a base metal. Then they coalesce or bring together all of that base metal into sheets of mostly aluminum. Now from there, they either hot or cold roll it, which basically recrystallizes and strengthens that base metal. Then they make it into a crude shape or a crude product that is aluminum alloy. And then from there, a manufacturer does what they want with it, or they can make it into whatever shape they need. Now let's talk about carbon fiber on bikes. So basically, a carbon fiber bike looks like that bike, but not. Basically, the only difference is that on a carbon bike, these are what the welds look like. That's the big giveaway. As in, there is no welds, it's just seamless all over the whole thing. But from a distance, it's hard to tell if it's aluminum or carbon. But some of the main benefits of carbon fiber is that it's light, and then it's very strong. Especially, it's very strong for how light it is, which is really good for performance athletes who are trying to get every ounce of power, and every pedal stroke matters. Now there are downsides to carbon fiber, like the price. It is pretty expensive to buy a carbon fiber bike, although now it's becoming more common and easier to get them. It's still more expensive. But if you do have the money to spend on a carbon fiber bike, it is pretty nice, and they you will get some benefits from it. Although another thing to note is that carbon is a lot stiffer, so carbon frames won't flex as much. So an aluminum frame, when you're riding on it, it'll flex quite a bit. Like the front part of the bike will be in a different spot. It won't be in line the whole time. It kind of flexes like that when you ride. The whole bike isn't stagnant, but on a carbon bike, it takes a lot of force to move it. So it's a much stiffer ride, although that's what the suspension's for. So the way carbon fiber is created is first you start with something called PAN, which I'm gonna butcher the name, but it's polyacrylonitrile. I think I butchered that. I'm gonna just call it PAN because that's a lot easier. Basically each company has a different recipe for this too. But you start with that pan, you stretch it into fibers. And with those fibers, you superheat it in an oven that has no oxygen in it. Because if you have oxygen in there, it'll burn. So with no oxygen, you're able to superheat the fiber a bunch. And that helps recrystallize and strengthen the fiber. And it rearranges the atomic bonding. Then you superheat it again, but with special gases. And I'm not sure what the gases are, but those gases help remove any non-carbon atoms on that strand. So basically at the end of it, you'll have a pure carbon strand, but it'll also help create tighter bonds between the carbon and align the crystals in the fiber. From there, there's a process that oxidizes the surface of the fibers so that it sticks better to other things, and then you have your completed strand, and then you can weave it into whatever shape you want. Oftentimes it's actually shipped out to companies in spools or bobbins so that they can make whatever type of layering they want to do. Now this is pretty cool. With those layers that they create with the carbon fiber, they layer them along the bike depending on how strong or how stiff or how flexible they want the bike to be. So say you have a big piece of carbon fiber going right here, or a couple layers, you might want this area to be stiffer than an area like here where a lot of flexing is going to happen. I mean, you still want it to be strong, but you want it to be a little bit more flexible so it's not brittle and it won't just snap. But basically companies are able to layer and target which areas they want to flex and which areas they want to be stiff using these carbon fiber sheets, which is pretty cool and a lot more advanced than a normal aluminum frame, which is basically the same strength throughout the whole frame. Now it's pretty crazy that bike technology and materials have gone from something like this of just metal and wood to something like that, which is a feat of engineering, to something, pretend I have a carbon bike here, to something like this, which is pinpointing flexibilities and strengths within the frame, and it's super intricate. And I am pretty excited to see where the future of biking goes and future materials goes for bikes, because it seems to be every single year that they can keep on getting lighter and lighter bikes and stronger bikes too. So I can't predict the future, but I can imagine it's going to be a good one for mountain bikes. So I hope this presentation was enjoyable and made somewhat sense. And yeah, thank you for watching my presentation.